all about.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, good morning.
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 What I thought we would do is if we had new people, but I think at this point, what I wanted to do is a quick review of everything we've done until now. And I put together some charts that you can keep sending to you if you want to have them as lists. Because again, we said that Rabbeinu Bachya works with a lot of lists and he explains each one in detail. What we are going to do is go through some of it and review what he's done already. And okay. Let us start quickly with Rabbeinu Bachya's introduction. Again, he starts with, first of all, the benefits of bitachon. What does he mean by bitachon? Let's hear it from you. You two were here all week. So what does he mean by bitachon?
I missed that lecture. Good excuse. I had a good excuse. I missed that lecture.
Trust in Hashem.
Trust.
Emunah is believing that there is a God, but bitachon is willing to hand things over to him.
Trust.
It believes that Hashem can take care of things and will take care of things. And a willingness to leave it over. Basically, the idea is to get it off your shoulders. If you walk around thinking the whole world is on your shoulders, you have to do this, you have to do that, it's your responsibility. One, it's not a Torah way of thinking, and two, you're going to make yourself crazy. I mean, you're going to carry the burdens of everything on yourself. So in his introduction, quickly going through his introduction, Rabbeinu Bachya lists 10 points, 10 benefits of having bitachon. First, that a person with bitachon will not be influenced negatively by other people. Why not? Because he has the boss on his side. So he has nothing at all to be influenced negatively by anybody else. Two, a person with bitachon is not afraid to admonish others when needed. It's a matter of taste and it's a matter of how you go about it and what you do. But this also, a person with bitachon is free of worry because you're handing it over. A person with bitachon uses his wealth in a way that pleases Hashem or views his poverty as a freedom from material concerns. So you have one of two things. Either one, you have the wealth, and if you have wealth, you're going to use it in an appropriate Torah manner. And if you have no wealth, you look at it as that is a gift from Hashem. There are many times that I was very, very grateful that I had nothing to lose in the stock market. It's as if I'm working 14 years on Wall Street. I've never had a problem with not having the money. It is a bracha in a lot of ways, and that you don't have the difficulties and challenges that you have with great wealth. 5, a person with bitachon trusts Hashem regardless of how much money he has. Whether you have or don't have, you understand that Hashem can give you anything, keheref ayin, in a eye blink. So you trust no matter what you have in terms of money. 6, a person with bitachon lives quietly, confidently, and calmly. Again, having handed over the responsibility and trusting in Hashem that Hashem will take care of it, then you can live quietly and confidently. A person with bitachon does not feel the need to engage in difficult or dangerous work. We are going to spend a lot of time on the concept of hishtadlus. Even though he says you're handing over everything to Hashem, you believe he's there, you believe he's taking care, he believes you, he's watching you, and he loves you and is taking care of you. You still have to do something. You can't just sit back and say, okay, give it to me. You have to do your work. The point is, you don't have to engage in very difficult or dangerous work. The problem is that when you start working, you start believing that it's your work that's causing the benefit to come to you. And we're going to go through this over and over and over again. And he repeats himself a lot. And we need that because you need to really do this over and over. 2 days later, you have forgotten, I have forgotten, half of what we learned. And you just have to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until it becomes part of you. So you don't have to engage in difficult or dangerous work. You have to do something and leave it to Hashem genuinely to take it over. A person with bitachon, number 9, has less stress in business because he knows that Hashem is running things and that he can trust Hashem to take care of things. So you have less stress there. And finally, number 10, a person with bitachon is happy in any circumstance that Hashem places him in. No matter what the situation is that you are confronting, if you have a belief inside that Hashem is there with you and Hashem is taking care of you and will take care of you, that gives you a whole different perspective. No matter what you're doing, if it's good or bad, no matter what is happening, you know that you have somebody there with you. And we're going to go through the different points he makes later about the 7 things that are necessary to trust in somebody. But right now he says these are the 10 benefits of somebody with bitachon. And basically he is saying both spiritually and materially, you benefit by having faith in Hashem. You're not going to be influenced by other people. You're not going to be afraid to admonish others because you're not depending on them. You're depending on the Borei Olam. You have to still be right to people. You can't expect, no matter what you do. But at the same time, you're not afraid to say what's on your mind. A person with bitachon is free of worry. A person with bitachon uses your wealth in a good way. A person with bitachon trusts Hashem regardless of what you have. You have a lot, you can have a little very quickly. So you trust Hashem whether you are doing very well or doing very badly in your mind at the moment. Things are not going, I shouldn't even say good or bad, because there is no badly. And we have to accept that and understand that. Things are either going the way you want them to go or not going the way you want them to go. When they go the way you want them to go, you think that's good, regardless of the disaster that it may cause later. When you don't want something, it's bad, regardless of how objectively good it is to anybody else in the world. And remember, we're talking about ourselves as a world. You yourself are an entire world. And you have Hashem as a partner in your world. And that's it. There's nothing else that really exists. Everything else that exists, that you think exists, is an illusion. Other people, other circumstances. In reality, all there is you and Hashem. And those are the 10 benefits that he had of having bitachon. Obviously, this is an ideal. It takes a long time to get to this point. You go through a lot until you get to this point. But it's a process well worth going through. Anybody have any comments on this so far?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's easy when you read these to see it passively. Is you sort of okay, take trust in me, but I think that what has to be accompanying this is a sense of awareness. In other words, an opportunity may come, and you can miss it if you're not aware of it. And it's very much an active thing, not a passive thing, trusting in Hashem.
Yes.
I've found in my life, that I can pray about something, whatever, but I've really got to be aware and grab it. They say opportunity knocks, to grab it and make it real. That's what, found. It takes a lot of effort to do that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, when something is coming, to know that and to feel inside that this is Hashem's way and that you're willing to go along with it. We have a concept, there are certain basic concepts. Maybe I should really put together a list of the key concepts to remember in Yiddishkeit. Judaism has certain basic concepts that apply everywhere, at all times, to everybody, in all circumstances. And we have to remember those concepts. One is, I'll give you one for an example. Hashem pays you back, midah keneged midah. Whatever you do is what you get back from Hashem. Yes, Susan.
I find it's very important to stay in the now. And also, I have a tremendous trust that whatever is happening to me or whatever on a daily basis is for a reason. And maybe I don't know it, but it doesn't matter. I accept it. And I feel very calm and very satisfied with a little or a lot. It doesn't matter.
That's exactly right.
And I hope I taught this to my son.
Not just a reason, but a good reason. That is the difference. You can say, yeah, it's a reason, and Hashem's killing me. Hashem is not killing you. Hashem has a reason for doing it and wants you to follow along. Now he goes through in chapter 1, or no, this is still the introduction, I'm sorry. He goes through the advantages of the person with bitachon versus what he calls the alchemist. Okay, don't forget, this is the year 1200. Rashi, the Rambam, are people that were just born and died around then. We're dealing with, I'd say, the end of the Dark Ages. Really? For most people, this was a time of nothing. No inventions, no big successes in terms of accomplishments. But what you did have then is you had a bunch of alchemists. What were alchemists? Alchemists were people who said for a price or for whatever, they could take copper and turn it into gold. Or they could take other things and turn it into precious metals. And they were very popular. in those days. So, and again, going through these, you will see also, I believe you'll agree with me, that when he says the alchemist, it can be anybody. These days, it could be science. When you say, you know, the difference between Hashem giving you something and going to a scientist or going to a doctor or going to anybody else on earth, not including Hashem. Anything other than Hashem. So, one, even when it seems there's no source of sustenance, Hashem supplies to the Baal Bitochon what he needs. Hashem gives the person of faith everything he needs. The one who trusts in Hashem is confident that no matter what happens, it's for his benefit. That can be tough. 3, one who trusts in Hashem does not fear anybody sharing his trust. You're not worried that you're davening for something and that the other person, he's competing with you. There's no competition. We're talking about the Borei Olam, the one who created the world and everything in it. So you can share with anybody and it doesn't affect you. One who trusts in Hashem lives with confidence that Hashem will provide his livelihood according to his will at the time when he wishes and in the place where he wishes. The important thing to realize is that we are totally out of control. To say that we're out of control, that we don't control anything, we don't control anything. We went through this last week. What is the one thing that we control? Always, and never give that up. What's the one thing we always are in total control of?
Free will?
Right. What you want to do. What you want to do is up to you. Hashem lets you do either one. And I'll say either one because I believe it ultimately boils down to one of two. I don't care what it is. Get up to get the drink, don't get up to get the drink. Make the bracha, don't make the bracha. It's up to you. It's up to each one of us. Nobody else can control that. What you really want to do. And we're going to get into this later, especially. Rabbi Smith asked me to give a course of this throughout the year. And I'm thinking of doing it because I've gotten so fascinated with his thought process and the way he reviews things and the way he builds things. He keeps putting you on the spot. Do you believe or don't you believe? If you do believe, then get with it. Act like you believe. Do like you believe. And it's a very, very hard thing to do. But the point is we are in control of what we want to do. Now, let's just get something on the side because you're going to get a lot of this. And Rabbeinu Bachya himself talks about this. In terms of people acting a certain way, but really inside it's very, very different. And he talks about the problems of insincere wanting, insincere wishing. And we're going to go through this in a few different examples from history. What we see in history is that when somebody sincerely and completely puts his emunah in, puts his faith in, and cries out to Hashem, Hashem always answers. Always. Even with the Haggadah, what's the major word? Let's put it this way. If you had to pick one word out of the Haggadah to tell the story from this perspective, okay, from your perspective, from my perspective, we are the people in Egypt. From that perspective, what is the most important word in the Haggadah? Anybody? And I would say, my opinion, the key word is vanitzach. And we called out when we were being enslaved, when we were being beaten, when they were throwing our children into the Nile, when they were putting babies in the wall if we were short on bricks. Pretty horrific things it talks about doing. I'm not so sure between them and the Nazis which was worse. When you read the Midrashim about all the things they made us do, they made men do women's work and women do men's work so that you should be off. You're not used to doing this. They used to work you to the bone so that you didn't have the strength, literally, to procreate. They kept you so busy that you didn't have time to think about anything except what you were in the middle of doing right now and the problem you had to achieve right now, because you were so buried, you never got out from under it to call out to Hashem. And if you look at the Haggadah, after you say Vanitzach, we called out to Hashem in pain, in frustration, in fear, whatever. And we believe that he could save us. That's when the Geula starts. The Geula. Had we not looked, Hashem doesn't just start things. We have, as I said, one of the principles, I said, of Yiddishkeit. One is, B'derech she'adam rotzeh, molichin lo. The way you want to go, Hashem helps you along. Hashem's not forcing you to do the right thing. You want to do the wrong thing? He lets you do the wrong thing. You will ultimately pay just by the inevitable things that happen as a result. But the point is, he waits for us. We have to make the first move, always. And then we can sit back a little bit and leave it to Hashem, or at least have confidence. I started this, Hashem's going to help me complete it. And that's the approach you have to take. So, he's not worried about anybody else sharing his trust in Hashem. You don't lose when somebody else. One who trusts, Hashem will cause people to respect a man who trusts in him. And we find this all the time now. People, unfortunately, Jews have constantly tried to blend in, or not to look too Jewish, or not to act too Jewish, or not to look too religious, or not to act too religious. And yet we have found over and over and over again, the guy respects you when you're strong in your Yiddishkeit. If you make fun of it, if you knock it, he has no respect for you at all. And the more you accept it, and the more you behave that way, and the more you introduce it, into your speech, into your thoughts constantly, into your speech as often as you can, and in your actions. If you're going to be sincere about things, then be sincere. Now, let me give you a few other principles. We said one before, that Hashem pays us back, mida keneged mida. You do good, you're going to get good. You do bad, you should expect something to come of it also. That's one. Two, and this is one he gets into a lot later. Hatnua hachitzona me'oreres es hapnimius. The outside affects your inside, not the other way around. People always say, well, I'm not there yet. You know, when I get there, I'm going to dress like this. When I get there, I'm going to do this. No. The object is to do first, and then your head will get there. Spoke to a few people, Bali Shuvu, who became Hasidim, until they started dressing like a Chassid, until they started putting on the black pants and the white shirt and stopped with all the American craziness. That's when they felt it. You got to look it before you are. I used to speak to college students, law school students, about how to get ahead in business or in work or in law. And I said, you always dress for the position you want, not the position you have. You want to become an executive and you're in the mailroom? I was. You dress the way the executives dress, even if you're working in the mailroom. You don't wear jeans, you don't wear sneakers, you don't wear the cap backwards and a t-shirt, because then you'll stay in the mailroom all your life. So what's important is the outside changes your inside. If you wait to change your outside until your inside is changed, it's never going to happen. So that's an important rule also. One who trusts in Hashem is secure against diseases and illnesses. Who is in charge of illnesses, diseases, health, no health? Hashem. If a person trusts in Hashem, his food will not be withheld from him at any time and in any place until the end of his life. He is saying, if you have real bitachon, if you have real trust in Hashem, Hashem will get it to you somehow. You can be secure in your own land and you can have peace of mind in your own home. You're not worried. You're there, the mezuzah's on the door, Hashem is there with you, Hashem will protect you. One who trusts in Hashem will be accompanied with the reward for his bitachon, both in this world and the next world. He is saying not only are you getting points for your reward after you graduate, but even while you're still taking the courses here on earth, you will see a reward for your bitachon. And finally, he says, when people know that an individual has trust in Hashem, he will become greater in the eyes of people, and people will honor him. Now, throughout his Sefer, he gets very detailed. I mean, I'm giving you very short lists as a review, and so that you can look at it later and just have the list to bang into your head. Remember, if I get this right, boom, 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 boom. These are your goals. And these are goals that will come to you by having real bitachon. Now, when he phrases this thing with the different, compared to the alchemist, the scientist, in each of these cases, he is saying, for instance, that if you go to the alchemist and he doesn't have the raw material to work with, he can't do anything. He's going to change copper into silver or gold. You got to give him copper. If he doesn't have copper, he can't do it. If he doesn't have the materials he needs to add to the copper, whatever potions he's making, he can't do it. People will not necessarily like him or trust him. And you see how this applies even to science. Doesn't have to be phony science, doesn't have to be alchemy. It could be the top scientist at the National Institute of Health with the Center for Disease Control and everything else. You can't have faith in them. And we went through this, and we're going to go through this now again. What happens when you do? What happens when you misplace that faith? And we get another list. Okay. That was the introduction, okay? His 10 advantages over trusting in any basar v'dam, in anyone or anything in this world. There are limitations. They need to do things, they need to have things to do it. They don't necessarily get the respect. Hashem controls everything. And again, this is something that you repeatedly have to sit there and convince yourself of. It's not like you've been doing this for years and therefore it comes easy. It doesn't. You grit your teeth, whatever it is, you do another tefillah and you plug ahead and you keep moving. You have the choice of what you're going to do, and you have to have faith that Hashem is there with you and will go along with you. What is the definition of trust in Hashem? One, that you'll have tranquility of mind and will be confident that Hashem will do what is best for him. It's a matter of sitting back and accepting that you're in good hands and you're in hands that will protect you. And bitachon means total confidence in a kindly way. Even if you're not deserving of it, and even if Hashem did not promise to do so. Okay, when it comes to tzedakah, we have a pasuk and a learning, aser ta'aser. Hashem says, I challenge me. If you give, I will give you more than what you gave. Give it away in order to have it. Someone once asked, what is your money? The money that's in the bank? No. The money that's in the bank can be gone tomorrow. What you gave in tzedakah is there forever. It's yours. Nobody can take it away. Nobody can minimize it. It's all yours. So it's interesting, and we do this a lot when you get into this level of understanding Yiddishkeit. Everything is usually a matter of contrasting principles coexisting to make reality. And it often is. Coexisting. You believe in Hashem, you give your best effort into your first step, and then you believe that Hashem will take it over and give you good. Again, not a matter of giving you what you want, And that was one of the hardest things for me, I know. Because I looked whatever's good is what I want. If I want this, then it's good. Why would I want it otherwise? I've learned. We can want a lot of crazy things. And we can want a lot of things that are not good for us. We know with Hashem, He's going to give us what we need and what is best for us. So that's his whole chapter 1. That if you really trust in Hashem, if you have real bitachon, you're going to be tranquil. No matter what you're being confronted with, you have not only a higher power behind you, you have the highest power behind you. You and me, we each have the most powerful force in the world available to us, trying to help us, trying to take care of us. We just have to let it. And that's the hardest thing, letting go. Not figuring I got the better way. Well, if I just add this, if I just do this, let me check with this, let me try this, then it's not real bitachon. And we are confronted with this challenge all the time. And we just got to work harder at it. That's all there is to it. Everybody has the same doubt. Everybody goes through the same process. Everybody has the same questions. Everybody feels probably just as insecure as we do. Who am I? I don't deserve anything. What did I do to have for Hashem that I deserve this? Not that there's a give and take there either. You don't need to deserve it. There's no limit to Hashem's beneficence, to how much Hashem wants to give or will give, regardless of who you are and what you do. And now chapter 2, which is what we spent a lot of the time on not last week, the week before. 7 conditions. And he said, these are the 7 things you need to have in order to trust somebody else. If you're trusting anybody for anything, for a loan, to help you cross the street, to advice in business, whatever there is, the first thing we said you need is kindness. You need to know that the person or the thing from whom you are seeking assistance is kind and wants to give you that assistance. That's the first thing. I'm not going to trust somebody unless I know or feel that he wants to help me. Right? That's the first thing you would want before you trusted somebody. And Hashem is unequaled in the quality of kindness. 2, we said not only do we need somebody to be kind, but we need to know that they will be attentive. They're not going to, oh, I mistook it. Oh, I forgot. Oh, I made a mistake. None of that. Hashem is always there. His mind is always on you. There's no such thing of he didn't see this, or he didn't hear this, or he didn't know this. So that's continuous and constant. 3, we said before you ask somebody, before you trust somebody to take care of something, you want to make sure they have the power to take care of it. You're not going to go to, you want a promotion, you're not going to go to the janitor to give you a promotion. You want the person you're going to have the power to give you what you're asking for. We're dealing with Hashem now. Does Hashem have the power? Like nothing else. Four, we said, before you trust somebody, you'd like to make sure, you'd like to know if I'm going to hand it all over to them, then not only is the helping entity on me and willing to give me kindness and have the power to do what I want, but he knows what to do. He knows what I need, whether I know it or not. And that's a very important point. And Hashem knows everything. Now we said exclusive control, that's Hashem. But with a person, we said that we would like to trust somebody that we know that they've handled this thing in the past, and that the past results can give you a good feeling about the future. We know that Hashem is in charge. Nobody else. Yes. Yes. Okay. Exclusive responsibility. We said before you trust somebody, you want to make sure that they are the only one who can affect you and that they can protect you from anything on the outside. And with Hashem, we know exclusive responsibility. Hashem, everything that comes from Hashem, that comes in this world, happens only because Hashem wants it to be. There's no such thing. And it's funny because we get into things like Purim. We say that when Haman was there, that was the greatest gift we had. Hashem wanted Haman to be there. Hashem wanted the Jews to be afraid and to daven to him. And when they did, he created the salvation. Seven, unconditional generosity. And that is when you go to a person, Basav Adam, to be generous with you, you'd like to make sure that they can be generous, and they will be generous with you, regardless if you're deserving or not deserving. If you have to feel that you have to be deserving to receive a benefit, then the benefit is not unconditional. Hashem gives us the benefits unconditionally. Whether you are good, period, or bad, Hashem can give it to you. Okay. So, that brings us past the introduction, in which he lists the 10 advantages over this sorcerer. Chapter 1, which is very short, which gives a definition of trust in Hashem, a 2-step. And chapter 2, which relates the 7 things that he says one needs to have before you trust somebody, and show how that applies to Hashem in every way. Hashem is unequaled in chesed, in giving. Hashem is always there. There's no such thing as missing out or missing him, or him overlooking you or busy with something else. Hashem has ultimate power to do anything, whether rational, whether irrational, whether in your mind possible or whether in your mind not possible. Hashem can do it. Hashem has total knowledge. Hashem knows not just what you're asking for now, but what you will need later with the now and completely. Hashem is completely in control, exclusive control. And he got into this earlier, and we did this last week when we went in detail through these points, that everything is within Hashem's ambit, so Hashem controls everything. And when you get to 6, exclusive responsibility is that nothing else can affect you. No harm can come to you outside of Hashem. If it comes to you, and this is what most of the Musar people say, what's the first thing you should do if you're confronted with a negative situation? You've done this in the past. What's the first thing a person should do if he's confronted with a sorrow, with a problem? And the answer is, mashmesh b'masov, check your own actions. Look to see where you're going. What are you doing? Is this in a positive way or not in a positive way? Is this going to be in accord with what you understand Hashem wants of you or doesn't want of you? And make your decisions accordingly. And if you review your own actions, you will see, and you can see, how you got into the predicament you're in. And maybe looking at things you didn't look at when you were busy trying to tread water in the middle of those problems. When you're drowning or treading water, you don't see the ship on the horizon. You're busy trying to stay alive. And what they're saying, what he's saying is, that's the time you have to look at yourself and see, did I cause any of this? Can I attribute any of this to me? And then trust in Hashem that he'll make it better, that he'll take care of it. And Hashem, again, is the only one who's responsible. There's nobody else you can blame. And finally, 7, Hashem has unconditional generosity. That it's not just the thing that you wanted, but Hashem is capable and will give you anything and everything that you could possibly want. And those are the 7 things that he says, and he shows that if you look at any of these or all of these are within the ambit of Hashem and nobody else. Nobody else is all-knowing. Nobody else is all-caring. Nobody else is all-controlling. It's just a matter of constantly carrying this with you. This is why he says, Chovos, Halevovos. It's not a matter of actions. It's a matter of thinking. It's what's in your head all day. What are you carrying around all day? Any questions so far? Anybody? How do I close this?
Speaks for itself.
these are basic principles, yes. Yeah, by the way, I said I had all 5 classes. You see, they're all here from last week. A lot of it will be a review of what we're talking about, or actually, this is the review. But the important thing to realize is that it's not a matter of, I heard this already. Anything you hear on these points are things that need to be dealt with, and are things that you need to have in your own mind. It's not a matter of anybody else. This is constantly on our own minds and what we have to think of all day. In terms of recognizing, also, you need some help. Walk down the street. You heard the birds sing? Thank Hashem. That was beautiful, God. Thank you very much for that song, or for that beautiful picture, or the image that you just saw that made you feel good, or whatever it was. It's a matter of carrying this with you all the time. Yeah, he gives examples. A novice ascetic who traveled to a distant land in search of a livelihood. He met one of the idolaters and said to him, "How completely blind you are to worship idols." And the idolater asked him, "What do you worship?" And he said, "I worship the creator, the omnipotent, the sustainer of all, the one, the provider of all, which there is none like him." The idolater countered, "Your actions contradict your words." The ascetic asked, "How so?" The idolater said, "If what you say were true, you would have provided a livelihood for you in your own city, just like he provided for you here. And it would not have been necessary for you to trouble yourself to travel to a faraway land like this." The ascetic, unable to answer, returned to his city and reassumed his asceticism from that time on, and never again left his city. He keeps talking about how this gives you the power to not kill yourself working. Because we know and we say that everything that you get was preordained for you to get. And while this all sounds very, I wouldn't say childlike, but there are many things that in their simplicity seem childlike, but the principles all apply in the sense of to have this kind of total trust in Hashem, so that you can sit back and just hand it over to him. And once handed over, being confident that he will take care of things. It's a very, very high level to reach. You see this point? You're never going to find all of these 7 points in anything created, but they are all in Hashem's hands. He is compassionate. He never neglects. He has the power. The benefit's not in the hands of people, but only in the hands of Hashem. His generosity is universal to everybody. We have Tov Hashem La'kol, V'rachamov al kol ma'asov. This is an ashrei. We say this twice a day. We say this too. Hoseach, they say this is the core element of Ashrei. If you're going to think about Hashem at some point in Ashrei, this is the pasuk to do it. Hoseach es yodecha umaspia l'chol chai ratzon. You open your hand and satisfy every living thing. Okay, so he's saying intellectually we know all these things. We brought psukim just to prove them somewhat. And when you clarify all this, you will be strong. You put your trust in Hashem's hands. You give yourself up completely to Him. You don't question Him. You don't figure Hashem made a mistake or Hashem is wrong and you know the better way. We have a pasuk, Kos Yeshuos Esa Uv'Shem Hashem Ekra. I will lift up my cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. Okay, so you have now caught up on the introduction to Perek 4 of the Chovos Halevovos. We said there are 10 different parakim that he has. The first one on Yichud Hashem, the singularity of Hashem. When we say Hashem Echad Shmo Echad, in that chapter he gets into that. 2, he gets into not Avodas Hashem, seeing it. To get the term off him. But the point is observing what's around you. 3 is Avodas Hashem, doing God's work, and he gets into that. And this chapter is only, and I think this is why the Lubavitcher Rebbe did not mind and in fact encouraged people to learn this perek, this 1/4 perek, out of Chovos Halevovos, and to get into it completely. Why? Because unlike other parts of Musar that work so much on you, and you're beating yourself up, you need to be more of this, so you need to do this, so you need to change this. And he felt was on the negative, because you're dealing with negative feelings, negative traits. This is talking about faith in Hashem, and therefore, this paragraph really talks about the goodness of Hashem. And by approaching it from this way, Magadlu Masecha Hashem, how great are your works, Hashem? Taking it from the perspective of focusing on the good that Hashem does for us, and actually seeing it in your past, and actually accepting it in your present, and looking forward to it with a smile on your face, because you know that Hashem only wants to give you good. And therefore, whatever it is that you're going through is for your good. And you often need to bang yourself on the head with this, because I've been lots of times in situations where I go, "Ay, Hashem, did I need this too?" And the answer is obviously yes. You needed this too. And when you step back and think about it and reflect back, you will also realize that these are not such difficult things. It's hard to talk about because we always feel that we're seeing something that's different. You have to beat yourself into accepting this, not questioning it, and saying, but this. You have to accept this as an absolute given. Given. There's a Borei Olam, there's a creator of the world who is there every second, sees everything, hears everything, knows everything, past, present, and future. Doesn't change his mind, doesn't make mistakes, and only wants to do good for you. As hard as any day may seem, that is the truth and the reality. And we have to sit there and twist our minds into seeing how is this good for me. And sometimes when you do that, you actually get to see. Sometimes it takes a lifetime to see. Sometimes it takes longer. We're not necessarily granted the look from down here as to how this was all good. We may have to finish our review later. When we're upstairs, we'll see exactly how it was good. The point is to work on yourself, to force yourself to accept it now. And you will, with enough time and enough effort and enough review and constant reinforcement, it's actually possible. And you may have the Rishonim out there, the doubters out there, go, well, you're living in a fantasy world. Baruch Hashem. Let me be happy in my fantasy world. You go on with your world. We'll see where you go with it. Okay.
Yes, Torah. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, everybody.
very good.
Good class, very good class. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Completely new stuff tomorrow. Chapter 3 of the Chovos Halevovos. Let me recommend again, you go to Sefaria.com and you can see all of this. I just lost the curse. Okay. Safari is probably the best because it gives you the Hebrew, it gives you the English. You can skip over the Hebrew and just read the English and you will get it. And the point is, try to scroll through this every day. 10 minutes. 10 minutes a day to go back over the introduction, the first chapter, and the second chapter. It'll start sounding familiar. That's a good step. When you really know it by heart, you'll know it. And you'll see it and you'll feel it. Okay, folks, it's now 11:05. I thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
See you, Hashem, tomorrow.
Zai Guzen for everyone.
Be
Stay
well.
safe.
Thank you.